Hey guys, Stogaholics. Thank you guys for being here today. I've been thinking about some things over the past couple of weeks that I honestly wish that I was not thinking about. And I thought about making a video about this topic a few weeks ago. My brother kind of talked me out of it. But instead, I decided today that I was going to make a video about it anyway. I know that this is probably going to be irritating in content, and quite frankly, it's irritating to me to even be thinking about this so much. I would rather be talking and thinking about so many other things than the content that I'm going to be talking about today. On this screen here, however, is a little bit about myself. So if you guys don't know, I am a school teacher by trade. I teach science in public schools. And at the beginning of the year, we took this Clifton Strengths Test. Basically, it's kind of like a personality assessment. Uh, and when we took it too, by the way, I was like, frick, do we really have to be doing this? There's some of the things that I'd rather be doing right now. But in retrospect, I thought it was kind of cool to take a look at it. This chart here kind of shows you all of the things about myself, I think. And by the way, when I first took this test, I was kind of breaking the test down, the what I believe was the efficacy in the test, whether it was valid or not. And in retrospect, the fact that I was doing all of those things kind of emphasizes, I think, the actual validity in this test. I think that it is probably a realistic or at least somewhat truthful assessment on individuals' behaviors and what makes them who they are. You can see on the based on this chart that I strongly I think a lot about a lot of things, and this number one, which this assessment says down here, is called ideation, is a strength that basically means that I think a lot about certain ideas. It can be, by the way, these are strengths, but they can also be weaknesses too, right? One criticism of this kind of strength is that you may think too much about certain things. In fact, it might just you might think so much that it would be restrictive of action, right? But this is a lot about me. And by the way, just because I think a lot about a lot of different things doesn't necessarily mean that I am smarter or that I'm better or that I'm going to be a better investor than anyone else. You guys, you guys can criticize my ideas, and I would hopefully think that you would. Although it is much usually when I do find criticisms, it's more often a criticism of my personal character than of my ideas, which is disappointing to see in the YouTube comments. But regardless, I wanted to share this with you because I think it shows that when I think about something that I really go all in. I think so much, I try and think about all the angles, and I'm going to be sharing something that's really been bothering me in my personal life. All right, this is a list that I created on my trip recently in Alabama. I've wished that this list was getting shorter. These are all the videos that I would probably like to make. But I find that since the school year has started and that my energy on the topic I'll be talking about in a second, energy on something I would rather not be spending energy on, has been increasing. My time is getting shorter and shorter. This YouTube channel is largely a hobby. I don't earn income from it, so or at least significant income from it. So I'm asking you guys if you are interested in one of these things and you would like me to explore one of these topics on this list. By the way, some of these ideas on this list have been some recent investments that I've made recently, and I just never got around to making a video on it. So if any, by the way, you can ask some questions on any of these things in the comments too. And if there's a video that I see a lot of people are interested in, then I will make a video on that. Let me know in the comments below. All right, I'm a teacher in Hawaii. And I may not be a teacher soon, which may be good for this channel. I might have a little more free time to make some more videos. I'm going to start by establishing some ethos because I know one of the criticisms of people who do not want to comply with Cerveza mandates is that well they're ignorant, or they are not concerned with other people, or they're they're conspiracy theorists. Number one, I am vaccinated. I decided a few months ago, before I visited my family in Alabama, that I thought that it was the costs did not exceed the rewards of a potential vaccine. Not necessarily for myself. I am fit. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm maybe I'm not buff, but I exercise regularly, and the cerveza is not going to have a significant impact on me. Okay, but I am a school teacher and I'm exposed to vectors of disease. The children that I am around on a regular basis, they are, and they have been. There's been several cases at my school. And in my personal classroom, by the way, that where they have the cerveza illness. And as a teacher, as being exposed to these kinds of people, for me personally, to do the right thing, in my opinion, I wanted to get the vaccine. Now, I took some time to get that. You guys know I like to deliberate, right? I wanted to see all of the data. I wanted to see if there was significant risk, because by the way, there was no FDA approval. There wasn't significant data to see if there were short-term effects. And by the way, we still, as the community at large, do not know the long-term effects of all of this, right? But I didn't share this either, I don't believe, on this channel. I was a former medic in the Army Reserve, so we're going to go ahead and establish some more ethos with you guys, yeah? That doesn't necessarily make me a viral expert. The choice of words there should show that. An immunologist expert or whatever. But I find that in our society, there are increasingly measures that I find tyrannical. Um, this is what's happened recently where I live in Hawaii. For all public employees that work for the government, our governor, who Mr. Ige, has, by emergency proclamation, not through public consensus, but through the actions of a pen, have decided that all public employees must either be vaccinated or provide weekly negative COVID tests. Okay. And you're saying, well, okay, if you're vaccinated, what's the problem? And like I said, I've thought a lot about this. The problem for me is that, number one, there's a reason that people have a privacy to for their medical records. Okay, and like I said, I was a medic. I'm not sure. There's something called HEPA where you have. I'm as a medical professional, I cannot share your information with people outside of my unless it's for direct medical services. I cannot share that information. There's a reason for that, right? And I don't think this is something that a lot of people think about. Uh, there there's a lot of discrimination that can potentially happen if people have public knowledge of your medical history. And I'm sure if everybody knew everything that people were exposed to medically, that can impact their hireability, their personal lives. Let's say, for example, and this was in the military, so I may have been exposed to some patients that have something like gonorrhea. If I had shared that information with somebody, or if that was required for an employer to know, some people might come to some conclusions that say, okay, I don't know about this guy. I don't know about his moral character. I don't know that I want to hire him because he has gonorrhea. And I find that, and this is an extreme example, I find that when we are increasingly the medical records, medical information is being provided to authority figures that, in my opinion, should not have this authority. there is a tremendous risk. There's tremendous precedent for people to be concerned. So maybe I should just read this first of all. So, in order to comply with Governor David Ige's proclamation, all employees must submit documentation attesting to a negative COVID test or vaccination via this portal that they've created before your scheduled workday on Monday, August 30th. That is in a couple of days. Mahalo, mahalo, brah, to those employees who have already complied with this COVID testing mandate. And like as I'm reading this, my blood's boiling, right? I'm so upset by this. Right. If you are unable to comply with this requirement, please inform your supervisor as soon as possible, as you will be unable to work on Monday, August 30th. Let's find out. We'll find out what happens on Monday, right? All right. I'm going to continue this in a moment. When I found out about this mandate, it put me into a very awkward position. I think perhaps that was likely the intent. All right. First of all, I could either willingly comply. I could say no problem. You know, like I said, I have said vaccine card, your little government issued behavior compliance card. I could upload that to the web portal and say, hey, no problem. You know, not my issue. Somebody else's problem, right? Or, which is my belief, I could say, you know what, fuck you. I'm not going to comply. This is an overreach of government. This is an ink in by one person into emergency law that I strongly disagree with, and that's my personal view. You can let me know if you disagree in the comments below. But that's how I feel about it. And the problem with that is that if I said no, that I wouldn't comply, it put me in an awkward position because I have students, right? I have a commitment to make my these students whole. By the way, at my school, there are already teachers that are, there's a lack of staffing. There's not enough teachers to teach classes. There's not even, there's an eighth grade science position that's not filled. There's no teacher to teach these kids, okay? And I also know that there's another school that has a large amount of unqualified teachers in there to make up for all of the teachers that are not there on the west side of where I live. Okay. Um, this put me in an awkward position because number one, I could say, you know, okay, no problem, I'll comply. Number two, I could say, fuck you, I'm gonna quit, which is what again, what I thought I was gonna do, but I'd be abandoning these children. I'd be abandoning my staff. I'd be not my staff, my team. I'd be abandoning my school. I'd be leaving them, and I'd say, and again, that's something I strongly considered doing. So instead, I thought about it a little bit, and this is the conclusion that I came to. This was a letter that I sent to my principal. By the way, my principal has a horrible job, and I respect her a lot because there's a lot of conflicting views that she has to deal with on a regular basis. This morning you called asking about my plan for a COVID vaccine upload. I was teaching at the time, but I also felt I needed to say something, but I wasn't sure I would put it in the words that I wanted in a call. First, that I have taken the vaccine and will likely upload the card to the webpage tonight, but coming to this conclusion was extremely bothersome to me. I've had a jab for several months now. My issue is not with the jab itself, but with the intrusion of the DOE and government into our daily lives by providing medical information. I feel this is a dangerous precedent to our freedom as Hawaii state citizens. By the way, I voted for somebody in my local community who I thought was going to represent us very fairly in all kinds of regards, and this one as well. I think that he has done a few things that I like. His name was Rick Belangiardi, and he does a lot of things that I respect. He goes on a local radio show every morning or every Wednesday or so, like every week he goes on there. And if he can't make there, he has someone fill in to provide to take questions, feedback, and address issues from the community. And I really respect that. I like that about him a lot. But one of the issues that I've noticed is that anybody that disagrees with this kind of government intrusion into their lives has been blanketly labeled. There's no recourse. Um, there's no you can have a differing opinion. There's no you are an anti-vaxxer, right? And by the way, I showed you guys I am a vaccinated person, right? People should have the right to make their own medical decisions they find that are best for themselves and their families, right? And there's a dangerous precedent, right? If you give the government your medical information, then they will have the right to discriminate against you. And that is what we are seeing in different states in the United States. And I'm not okay with that. There's a historical precedent. If you look at history, if you look at something called Jim Crow laws, they were racial segregation. In this case, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. In this case, we are seeing that the authority figures in various communities in the United States are discriminating on a medical basis, right? And this is not what our founding fathers had in mind. It wasn't to eliminate the rights of U.S. citizens based on a illness that is affecting a a significant minority of the population. I've also heard some other people. I've heard some economics people. I love economics, and I've heard them professors at the University of Hawaii, where I live. There's a guy called Panos. I love him. I love him, but I strongly, strongly, and passionately disagree with him on this specific topic, and that he says that we should eliminate our freedoms or remove our freedoms in this regard until the pandemic is solved. And I think that the foremost importance, the thing that has the most importance for us as Americans is freedom and preservation of it. And I don't think that we should give the government access to our medical information to help solve anything. And that might be extremist, but this is not polio. This is not a illness that is going to be solved through vaccines. The virus is going to adapt. This is a viral infection. Our vaccines do not prevent the vaccine from adapting, and in fact that it will. If you're concerned with public health, in my opinion, what you should be doing is addressing people's comorbidity issues. And in the United States, as many of us know, we have issues with morbidly obese people. We have issues with diabetes. All of this is strongly related to diet. I'm digressing too much. Let's continue. I have talked to many people about this and done my best to see the views of others and balance it with my own morals and what I think is right. I strongly feel the desire to fight this, but I also like our team at blank and wish not to make trouble for us, which I think this is by intent from government figures. When many have so much to worry about in their lives, that is. And a lot of the administration at our school, I really feel for them. They get hammered on every side from parents. There are parents that are like myself, the freedom-loving individuals, and there are people that are genuinely concerned, probably justifiably, with the cerveza illness. So that is a hard position to be in. I know you and Joy especially put a lot of effort into preparing the students to stay safe, and I respect all that you do in this regard. Again, my issue is not with blank or our safety issue procedures, but with providing medical information and dictation and personal medical decision making from authority figures that in my view should not have that authority. I know there are many conflicting views in this regard. If you're wondering why I may have this view, I do teach science and work to gain knowledge about this topic every day, but I also have knowledge of history. These kinds of laws disturbingly remind me of Jim Crow laws of the past. There's one thing though. A lot of scientists, whatever their field of study, I've noticed, whether it be chemistry or whether it be life science or biology or whether it be whatever, they have kind of like an ethnocentrism with their kind of field of study. Like the chemists, they say their study is the center of whatever it is. All sciences are based on chemistry, or biology says without life, all of the other sciences wouldn't be possible. Um, I love economics. I love, if you can't tell by this channel, I spend a lot of time thinking about economic related issues. When I think I think about this and I think about Jim Crow laws, I think that they were inevitably going to fail. And I think that a lot of the mandates that we see in the United States are inevitably going to fail. And that is because economics is the central science. And that is because people are going to be incentivized to disobey these laws. The reason I think that Jim Crow laws failed, yeah, I think number one, they were probably immoral. Number two, if you had a customer that was white and you had a customer that was black, you could double your revenue, right? So if you didn't obey these laws, you would have an increased amount of customers. I think that if and these kinds of jurisdictions that are alienating people based on their decisions to get a certain make a certain medical decision, I think that the businesses that disobey those kinds of mandates are going to see increased revenue. So eventually that's going to incentivize everybody to disagree. And I think that a lot of the people in power in these kinds of jurisdictions, unlike, and I'm not perfect, they don't consider all sides. They are strongly considering health ramifications. They're not considering the economic ramifications of all of their ideas. And I think people are there. I think that there's this. They think they're paper tigers. I don't think when people rise up and people disagree with them, I think that they will inevitably comply to the wishes of the people. I speak often in this channel about pendulums and cycles. And when things swing too far one way, inevitably they will have to swing the other. In this case, I feel that I have a personal duty to help said pendulum begin to swing the other direction. I think that is going much, much too far. All right. People and populations are being deliberately segregated by variables decided by the government. It's even more bothersome to me when these dictates come from one person's hand and not from an electoral consensus from our communities. You should know that although I will comply with this dictate, and I wasn't comfortable doing that, I will not comply with any further dictates regarding supplying medical information. This may mean, but is not limited to booster shots, additional vaccines, medical treatments, or anything that may reasonably fall in this category. I hope that you can understand and respect my views. I'm not a gold bug, but one of the gold bugs, I think you would probably self-identify as a gold bug, Peter Schiff, he has a quote. I think it's, hopefully I'm right on this. Essentially, I'm going to paraphrase here. Essentially, what he says is that if you're on a desert island and you're stuck with let's say you have a treasure chest full of cash on that island, are you really wealthy? And we could say the same thing for gold. Let's say you have a treasure chest full of gold on that island, and you're stuck there all by yourself. But you have all of this wealth, whether it's cash or gold. Are you really wealthy? And to me, it's like, well, no, you're not, because you cannot spend that wealth on goods and services. You are not wealthy. You are, in fact, living in abject poverty. um, I feel like we're in a similar situation in at least where I am in a societal level. If we live in a society that is increasingly becoming less free, where our rights as citizens are at the determination of the powers that be. Are we wealthy individuals? You know, although I might be successful as an investor, and you know, I'm not going to say. Hopefully, I am as time progresses. You guys can be the decider on that on this channel. But if we don't have the freedom to make the decisions that is right for us and for our families, I have to ask the question, are we truly wealthy as individuals? And I am not I'm not the authoritative expert on this belief either. I would encourage you guys to decide what is right for yourselves. And if you think that you agree with some of the views that I have, and perhaps you think that government is overreaching their purpose, I would hope that, and this is the goal, I hope, of this video, to inspire you to speak out, to do what you think is right, and to do so in and there will be consequence to do so with courageous intent, because there will there will be consequence. And I hope that I can inspire some others. That's not my strength. If you looked at some of that test that I showed you guys earlier, I hope that people will do what is right no matter the costs. And I know that I will, and I hope that I can inspire at least one person with this video. And I hope that if you share my view, that you can go out there and inspire one more person too. I will see you guys soon.